Well, today is Saturday, December 8th, 2007, and we are interviewing Lavern Kaminski at her home. And Lavern is 81 years old. She was born on October 4th, 1928. Is that right? 26. My name is Erin Elliott, and Ryan, say your name.
Ryan Elliott.
And Lavern is our grandmother. So, we'll begin by asking you, Grandma, when and where were you born?
I was born in Little Chute on October 3rd,
October 3rd or October 4th?
October 4th.
Okay.
Must you start over?
No.
Where?
Yeah.
At my house, at my mother's house.
Okay, and
No
that's
hospital?
At Little Chute,
okay. Little Chute, Wisconsin.
yeah.
Okay.
No
And
hospital?
No, not in them days.
Just one child out of 10, Shirley, was born in the hospital. The rest of us, all 7 of us, were born at home by a doctor from Little Chute, and he had a midwife.
Really?
So they called her a midwife. She helped Dr. Doyle out, and all you had to do was call her and she'd come when it was time to have the babies.
and how many sisters did you have? Or do you have?
There's 8 of us girls and 2 brothers.
Okay.
One brother has passed away he had
Dialysis.
That wasn't the disease though. He didn't have dialysis as a disease. What was his disease?
he had dialysis, was on dialysis.
Diabetes. Wasn't it diabetes?
No, he didn't have diabetes.
Whatever you get dialysis for, that's what he died of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, whatever purifies the liver. I mean, it didn't purify the blood.
Okay. That's enough information on that.
You're going outside a little while.
Okay. And what did your dad do for a living?
My dad was a watchman at Combined Knox Paper Mill.
Okay. And his name was what?
Peter Evers.
Okay. And your mom, did she ever work?
Yes, she worked for Lawyer Van Hoof, babysitting the kids
Okay.
when they would go different places.
Lawyer Van Hoof was his name?
Was he a lawyer or was his name
Yeah,
lawyer?
he was a big lawyer.
Oh,
He just
oh.
died.
You did? Okay. And what was your mother's name?
Anna. Anna, she was a Bergman
Okay.
from Little Chute.
But then she was Anna Avers.
Then she married, Anna Evers.
Okay. Did you have any other family members, beside Grandpa, who served in the military? Were your parents in the military? Were your siblings in the military?
My brother Joe was in the Air Force.
For what war?
For World War II.
Okay.
His plane was shot down in Germany.
Yeah.
And he was the only survivor. Out of 9 of the crew members, he was the only one that survived because he bailed out. He was a tail gunner, and the plane was shot in half, so he was able to parachute out. And then when he got to down, where he got shot, or where they got a hold of him, then the civilians would come after him with pitchforks.
Really?
Yeah,
They did?
that's true. With pitchforks. Why didn't the military people do that?
Military saved them. Otherwise, the farmers would have killed them.
Yeah. These farmers
People
did that. He lost how many pounds?
Oh, he only weighed about 80, 90 pounds when he came back.
Yeah. Wrong? already?
No, say that again. How much did he weigh when he came back? No, Grandma, you say.
85.
Okay.
You go outside.
No.
85 pounds he weighed. I was in the hospital. I had a great big boil, they called it boil years ago on my eyebrow. And it got real big. My whole side of my face was swollen. So they took me to the hospital and they cut. You can see it in my eyebrow. That's why nobody touches my eyebrow.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Did you know that?
No.
I was in the hospital and he walked in my room and I think I could have died with his uniform and everything on. And he looked so bad.
But how long was he a
He was
prisoner
a
of war?
prisoner of war 11 months.
Oh my gosh. How was he rescued?
Dad, how was he
When our
rescued?
forces came in,
Oh.
Huh?
liberated.
So
And,
when the war was over?
no, the war was over.
Oh.
They
As they
walked
moved through
for
Germany,
miles and miles, Norb. They walked for miles and miles. And how come they had to walk?
Germans didn't have no transportation.
And they ate grass, because they didn't get nothing to eat. They ate grass, and they ate bugs too, right?
Ugh.
Mice.
Mice?
They used to catch mice and rats.
He was so bad, you'd swear to God, he was, you know, like these people that are real sick, ready to die,
Yeah.
like that.
So when he came home,
Malnutrition.
you're right. So when he came home, and this was Joseph Avers, that was his name.
Right,
Then, but he lived a long life after that, right?
right.
So he recovered.
And then, can I talk about one of his sons?
Was he in the military?
One of his son-in-laws was killed
That's right.
in the Vietnam War.
That's right. And did you have any other family members in the military?
Or bush, but not.
Oh, my brother Orv, and Denny was in service.
Who is Denny?
Our Denny.
But who is Denny for the camera?
Oh, who was he in service?
No, what is his name?
Oh, Kaminski.
That's your son, right?
Yeah, our son. He was in, what do you call that, hon?
The National Guard?
No, the regular army. They had to serve. They had to serve a year.
Okay.
That was compulsory.
He had to serve a year. That was compulsory.
Okay. And what do you have any grandchildren that were in the military?
Yes, I got one grandchild that was in the military, but he didn't fight overseas.
And what's his name?
And his name is Jake Kaminski.
Okay, and that was in what years? Like 2004 through 2006 or something?
Right after graduation.
Okay.
So what would
When would that have been?
Probably like 2004,
Right
2005.
after
2005.
graduation, he went, yeah.
He served in Germany.
Listen, he did serve in Germany, didn't he?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So tell me, now let's talk about when you worked for the Manitowoc Shipbuilding Company. So how old were you when you did that?
I didn't go to high school, so I decided to, instead of high school, I would just go to vocational school 1 day a week and then get a job. I wanted to take up a welding course at the vocational school. And so I think probably, I don't know, not even a year. And they came and told me, out of a bunch of us girls, because all the girls were going, I mean, they were all going to war because the guys
Guys are going to war.
they decided to go to war, so we all wanted to do something for our country. And, no,
Yeah. So then you just said, so you were in vocational school, and then they came, and there was a lot of girls in vocational school,
Yeah.
and then what did they come to tell you?
they came to tell me that I passed all my welding tests. You know, they just checked the 2 pieces of iron and weld it together. Or that's what I had to do. And then they tested in a tester, I guess.
Okay.
And I was the only one out of all the girls that passed my test.
Really?
So I think there was about 12 of us. And one was one of my girlfriends. She's dead now. But
That's fine.
so anyway,
You beat her twice.
huh?
You beat her twice. You lived her and you welded better.
Well, anyway, they said I had a choice. I could go to Manitowoc shipyards, they're building submarines, or you can go to Sturgeon Bay where they're building, what kind of boats?
Landing barges.
Huh?
Landing barges.
What do you say?
Landing barges.
Landing barges. So I picked Manitowoc.
Okay.
And then I didn't know how I was going to get back and forth from Little Chute to Manitowoc. But I asked my mother if I could go, and she said, well, you can go, but we don't have money for you to get a bus ticket. Because they said you just get a bus ticket and then the big bus will pick you up and it'll make stops along the way to Manitowoc and pick up all different people, you know, machinists, painters,
Other employees that work there.
yeah, oh, a lot of them. And then she said, well, if you can borrow some money from somebody, so I went by my aunt and uncle's. I walked over there and asked them if I could borrow $5. Now that was for a week to go to Manitowoc, back and forth.
Oh, wow.
5 o'clock in the morning the bus came, because it had to make all the stops. And then I'd get home about 7 o'clock at night.
Oh, that's a long day.
Oh, and I would be so tired. And a couple of times the Green Bay stages, the bus, it came to Little Chute, to my house. They knew where I lived, and picked me up. And I got in the bus with my shoes, my welding shoes, and my whatever I had with me. You know, most of my things are in a locker at shipyards, but that's what they they came there to get me, you know. I think they liked me so much, that's why.
And because you were probably very pretty.
Then,
Well, but so then you took the bus back and forth for how long?
Was
6 months,
Okay.
until I met that turkey.
So, well, before we get to that, so you worked there you were there 6 months, and you traveled back and forth from Little Manitowoc.
Right.
And then, and where did you get the $5 every week then? From what they were paying you?
I borrowed it from my aunt and uncle.
Every week?
No, I did, and then when I got paid, I
Oh.
went to pay back.
Okay, so then you use your own
Because I
money.
came home every night.
Right.
Because when Joe was a prisoner of war, I came home, walked home from the bus, you know, from Main Street, and there was a note on the table saying, Vern, we're all at church, come to church. Joe is missing in action. So the whole family went to church then, you know. So then I had to walk right back uptown and go to church and pray, you know, for him because he was missing in action. And they didn't know if he was dead or not, you know. And but then I think I got tired of riding the bus.
Mm-hmm.
So then I asked my mom if I could room and board in Manitowoc. But I had to come home on weekends to give some of my money
Mm-hmm.
for the rest of the kids. Because we had to, when we worked, we had to give our money up for them to
Raise the other kids.
raise the other kids. So every weekend when I would go, I would give them most of my money, you know, because just my room and board I had to pay. And I guess, you know, a little bit of money that you did. I don't think I needed that much money.
What year was this?
1940, no, just a minute. 1944?
Yeah, out there.
1944.
You don't remember what month you started working there?
Oh, it was like earlier than that, 43,
Oh.
1943.
1943?
Yeah, I think it was 1943. And you were how old?
I was 16 years old.
Okay.
See, I must have been 14 when I graduated from 8th grade. Yeah, 16.
That makes sense. So then, what did you do every day? When you went to work, what were you doing every day at the shipbuilding company?
I was a first-class welder on the outside frames of the submarines.
And the keels. You used to weld the keels.
And I welded the keels. Whatever they are.
Okay. And
What else did
All day, every day? That's what you did?
I had my one, each welder had their own welding machine. Boy, and then somebody from the second shift, if they would screw my welder up, boy, did I get mad. You know, you set it the way you
Yeah.
like it. And they told me that I had such a nice bead. You call that a bead when you go like that, you know. And then the second shift, whoever used my machine, anyway, they would screw it up. And oh, I used to get so mad. Because I was a first-class welder, you know.
And didn't they ask you to do something special?
Then they asked me if I would go put oxygen mask on and weld with
Galvanized
galvanized
metal.
metal with galvanized rods. And so I did that, but I got a little sick from that when I did that.
How come?
It's like sulfur or something.
Oh, really? Breathing it in?
Yeah,
Poisonous.
I had
Yeah.
a mask on and everything.
But could you smell anything?
Yeah, that's terrible. I wouldn't want a job that you have to use that all the time. I imagine there are some places, right?
Well, it's a lot better nowadays.
But I don't want to talk.
No.
Are you going to take some of this out of there?
It's fine.
What? So how many hours a day did you work? Was it 8-hour shift, 10 hour?
8-hour shifts.
And how much did you get paid in every hour, do you know?
I got the top wages, $1.25 an hour.
Wow.
And after the war was over, then I went to Kresge's store in Manitowoc and got 33
And you went to
cents
the
an
mill.
hour.
You went to the mill.
Oh, did they? Oh, the mill first. Oh, yeah, then. Okay. The mill, I got 66 cents, right?
I don't know.
66 cents an hour at Kimberly Clark.
But you worked there till what year? You worked at Manitowoc from 1943 till, do you remember what year? How many years did you work there?
The war was over.
The war was over, so.
They stopped building subs.
Well, then, what year was that?
45.
45.
45, yeah.
And then you
Yeah, I
could-
worked there 2 years.
And then you couldn't work there anymore because they were done building subs and their job was
Well,
over? Or the men came back?
We could have did some, what could have I done? I could have went to Sturgeon Bay,
Yeah, building ships.
I could have went, but I didn't want to go to Sturgeon Bay.
Okay. And where did you live when you were rooming and boarding down there?
I lived 2 blocks from the shipyard.
Grandma Coomer.
I could walk every day.
But who did you live with?
Who did I live with? They were real nice people, and we called them Grandma and Grandpa. They were old, but they were real nice. And then they gave us our rent cheaper because we cleaned the house for them.
Who's we?
3 of us.
3 girls?
She had 3 renters. One was my girlfriend,
Okay.
the one that I said was dead. Well, anyway, then she passed her test. She had to keep going to school till she passed that test. Then she came in and I said, well, then you can, I'll ask Grandma Coomer if you could come live with us. So she said yes. So she lived with us, and it was nice because her and I were on a softball team for the shipyards, and we did a lot of stuff together. And then you were in service.
Yeah. How did you meet Grandpa?
Oh, he worked. He was in in the rod office.
Blueprint office.
Okay, he worked in a blueprint office.
Okay.
And I was welding for his brother. You used to take, they would put 2 pieces of,
Ship fitter.
what?
Ship fitting.
Ship fitter?
Ship fitters would come and they would have you tack where you had a weld, and tack means just a dot,
Okay.
And then they would get it ready, and then I would come along and run the bead, to weld it. So, what was that?
Oh, so how did you meet Grandpa then? So.
Oh! See, he was going to the rod office, and he had a white shirt on, white long sleeve shirt, And he looked real nice, and I lifted up my hood of my welding hat, and I said to this man I was welding for, which was his brother, I said, oh, God, is that guy good looking? I said, oh, do you know who he is? He said, yeah, that's my brother. You want to meet him? And then I said, yeah, I would love to meet him. He said, okay, meet me by the gate. See, we had gates that they had keys. We had keys and everything.
Security.
Real lot of security there. Meet us by the gate, and I'll introduce you to him. So that's what he did, and then he asked me for a date, right? Yeah, you did. And then, but I did like a man welder that had a big Harley Davidson motorcycle, and I liked him better.
Because he had the motorcycle?
Yeah, I think I liked his Harley Davidson.
Right.
Oh, that was a big bike. And then he went into service, or my boyfriend went into service.
But didn't something happen where you were at with Grandma Coomer and you told Grandpa you'd go on a date with him, but then what did you do?
Oh, yeah. And I said, now when that man comes, or when that boy comes, just tell him I'm sick in bed.
But where were you really?
I was with Jerry on Harley Davidson. And we went to the county fair in Manitowoc. Here I meet him. And I was with the Harley Davidson coming in, you know.
And I had a different girl.
So after that, how did you end up still dating Grandpa though? If I saw you with another boy at the county fair, I wouldn't go out with you again. So how did you end up going back out with him?
He must have really liked me because he came back after me again. But I still like Jerry real much, you know. Then he married a lady and her leg is off.
That is a very important detail for the Library of Congress to know.
About 50 years later, met him in a casino.
You let him tell that
She's
story.
chasing around the machines, peeking to see.
If you can find the lady with the
They were
leg.
walking off and they're, oh, she's got a pig leg.
No, you were at the bar with him.
Yeah,
You found out who he was.
accidentally by talking at
Oh,
the
no,
bar.
we shouldn't talk
Found out
about
who it
this.
was.
Is it?
Oh, well, that's probably
We're
enough.
way off the track.
Right. So then Grandpa went off to service, and then you stayed at the shipbuilding company the whole time that Grandpa
Yes.
was gone.
Yes.
Okay.
And then I still went out with Jerry. I wonder.
Even though Grandpa
I
was
can't
gone.
go by him anyway anymore. And then when he came home from service, then the war was done.
Right.
And then I got a job at Kimberly Clark. You got that in there already, huh?
Well, I just wrote it down, but it's important to say it too.
Kimberly Clark and worked on the paper machines
In Manitowoc?
in Kimberly.
Okay.
And I went, the money part, is that important?
Sure.
I went from $1.25 an hour welding down to 66 cents an hour. And that was a man's job, 15 on number 5 paper machine.
After you were married, you went to Kaminski's for 33 cents an hour.
Yeah,
So then you moved back down to Manitowoc once Grandpa came home and you got married.
yeah.
Okay. And where did you go to that vocational school? Where was that school?
That was in
It
Manitowoc.
wasn't Manitowoc.
Ghana.
Oh, the vacation. Oh, after I got the job, I still had to keep going to school.
Oh, you did?
Well, I was only 16.
Okay.
And then I didn't know that. And I didn't tell them, you know, they must not know when I was 16. As soon as they found out, they said, you have to go to school one day a week. And I said, oh, do I? I didn't have to pay
Oh.
any money or anything. But I had to go because that was the law. You know, you had to go to school till you're 18.
And the school was in Kaukauna?
That was in Manitowoc.
Oh, so you started off at a school in Kaukauna, but once you got to the shipbuilding company and they wanted you to go to
then
school?
I thought, well, I'm first class welder.
Right.
Why do I have to go to vocational school?
Right.
But that was because I was only 16,
Okay.
and I had to go till I was 18. So I went to vocational school there, you know,
How did you get to the school? Did you?
walked wherever. We didn't even have a bike, did we? Gladdy or I. No. Something else I was going to put in there.
Yeah, what else?
I'm trying to think. I think I got some screwy stuff in there, you know?
Where, do you remember where you were or what you were thinking about when you heard the war ended?
When the war ended, we were in a tavern. Me and I think 4 of my sisters, we were in a tavern. And that was a tavern in Little Chute.
Is that the entire war, or was that just the war in Europe?
I don't know. It was V-Day.
Okay.
Okay.
Europe.
Don't that sound right?
Mhm.
Okay.
And where were you? How did you find out that when that Grandpa got shot?
Trying to think.
No, that's fine. I was just checking something out.
I don't know, I'm trying to think, how did I find out you got shot?
I don't remember.
Oh, David. Yeah, I welded for David a lot, for Norb's brother. He wasn't married. So I did a lot of, in the plate shop, I did a lot of work for him. And then he told me that he got shot, you know. And then I guess, well, he couldn't work. You didn't work for a long time, though, did you?
Who?
You.
No, not after I got shot. Spent 7 months in the hospital.
Yeah, 7 months in the hospital. You were.
Right. Okay.
That's in there about him being in the army, isn't it?
Yeah, and we'll talk to him next about all that stuff. So, is there anything else that, like, obviously you ended up marrying somebody that you met at the shipbuilding company, which you worked at because there's a wartime. But is there any other way, like how, like looking back now, like how did the war impact your life, and shipbuilding? How did what you do like?
I was happy
Lucky she
to
found me.
serve.
Okay, so now like when you look back over your whole life, and like a lot of stuff obviously happened. Like how does the war, like when you look back on that, was that like a big deal or is that just kind of same as everything else?
No, to me, it made me feel so good because when I wrote this letter after our 50th class reunion, then the president of our class told me that he never heard of such a, heard a nice story like I put in there. That's the reason I didn't go to high school, because I wanted to help my country out.
Well, that is nice.
And he thought that was such a nice way of putting it.
Yeah.
Okay, Ryan has a question for you then.
So when you were over there, or when Grandpa was over there, did you write him? Did you keep in touch with him? Write letters to him?
Yes, I did. And he wrote me too, but I wrote him every single day. Right, Norb?
I don't know.
And what
I was
did?
in between her other boyfriends.
Yeah.
And then what would you do to sign your letters?
I would put lipstick on, fresh lipstick, and then I would kiss the paper, the letter, with love, Lavern, and then kiss it, and that was my kiss for him.
Well, that was nice.
Every letter. They're in the garage, she said.
Yeah. Well,
Were you still going out with that other guy at this time?
Yeah, once in a while. I wasn't engaged,
Right.
so I went with other guys, but there weren't many guys around because they were all in service,
Okay.
So,
They take what they could get.
So, is there anything else that you want to say about the war or about your family in the war or anything at all? Anything that you remember that you're like, that's kind of neat? Or no?
well, I'm happy that I had one son that went into service, and it just makes me feel so good about that they think that much of it, of the world, that they would do that.
And one grandson too.
Yeah, I meant the grandson,
Oh,
yeah.
that's what I thought. Okay. Okay, that's very nice.
And I'd like to thank my granddaughter and my grandson for interviewing us for this, because that is very important to us too. because my kids and grandkids are the most important thing in my life.
That is very nice. That was a very nice end.
Thank you.
Okay.
Norb, could you put the can down while you're... What are you going to do with them? You don't have to while your picture's going on there.
Yeah, okay, when it starts, I'll be ready.
Okay, we're starting. Ready? Okay, let's go.
Okay.
I'm Norb Kaminski.
I will start. Okay? We do the same like we did for Grandma. Today is Saturday, December 8th, 2007, and we are interviewing Norbert Kaminski at his home in Kimberly, Wisconsin. Norb is 82 years old. He was born October 11th, 1925. My name is Erin Elliott, and I'm with my brother. What's your name?
Ryan Elliott.
And these are our grandparents. So we're going to be asking Norb several questions. First of all, Grandpa, could you state for the recording what war and what branch of service you served in?
I'm Norb Kaminski. Served in the U.S. Army, 1943-45. 2 years and 7 days.
And what war were you in?
World War II,
World War II. And what was your rank?
DFC, that's rank in the Army.
And where did you serve? And you can just list stuff off and we can talk about it more later.
Where I served. Went in at Fort Sheridan. Did my basic at Camp Croft, South Carolina. That was radio basic also. Transferred to Fort Benning, Georgia. Went to radio school there. Then went to Kentucky. What's the name of that one?
Camp Campbell.
Camp Campbell. And there's where we organized the 20th Armored Division. That's the division I went overseas with.
And where were you overseas?
Overseas, left Boston Harbor in December, I think it'd be 44. Went into Le Havre, France. And
So you went directly into France?
yeah, we're shipping convoy through the North Atlantic, and it's rough. North Atlantic is rough in the wintertime. You see the old props come out of the water when they're hit them waves.
Oh yeah.
And
Well, how was it on the boat over there? Was it pretty cramped and crowded? You have your own bunk?
oh yeah, went over on the sister ship of the Morro Castle. If you know, the Morro Castle Burns was a luxury ship. Them were luxury liners that were converted for troop haulers. We had 5,000 men aboard ship when it left in convoy. And went out of Boston. Met a lot of ships. I mean, the convoy was great with destroyers running around us to protect us. They rattle when your ash cans go down over the sides. That's when the submarines came in.
Those depth chargers?
Depth charges, yeah. Oh boy, then you think that doggone plates are gonna buckle.
So you had your boat actually had to drop some of those? Boat you were on? The destroyers?
Destroyers were running around whenever they got a threat of submarines in the area, and then they dropped them.
What does that mean? I don't understand. They dropped what?
And they're barrels of explosives, and they create an awful lot of concussion.
Once they hit a
And
certain
they
level,
break if they get near the submarine, they'll break the hulls on the submarine and sink them.
So to protect yourself on the way over, it just...
That was more or less protection, or if there were subs in the area, they tried to get them out of there.
You didn't know if there was really a sub there or not, but just in
No,
case?
we never saw any come up to the top.
Okay.
Or go down.
Or go down.
When in Le Havre, they had to spend about 2 days out of Le Havre because the harbor was so bombed out, so many ships sunk in there that we tied up to another ship, and we'd have to go on crosswalks aboard sunken ships in order to get to the land.
Oh my gosh. And that's in France?
Yeah, landed there at 3 o'clock in the morning. And old Salvation Army was there to give us a donut
Really?
after eating 2 meals a day for 2 weeks. Took us 2 weeks to get across.
Wow.
And we had north of Atlantic, it's rough, and we had, well, I had sea legs, but many guys didn't.
So they throw
And
up a lot.
95% of them, I'd say, got sick.
Uh-huh.
So they used to wash the deck down with fire hoses because everybody was sick and vomiting all over the joint.
Oh. So after you got to France, then what other countries were you in while you were over there?
Oh, from France, we went up through Belgium, Holland, and then we started going south. And we went around the Battle of Bulge was going on then, but they had that pretty well secured. We ran around that, and we joined. There was three armies on the front. That is the front of Germany, and we joined each one as we went, and we were heading south. And eventually our main objective was the airport at Munich,
Okay, that was your end target.
and that was where hell all broke loose.
Well, let's back up, kind of like we did with Grandma, and because we'll probably get to the meat of that and spend a lot of time there. But going back, where and when were you born?
Oh, October 11th, 1925,
Where?
in Manitowoc, Wisconsin.
At home?
Naturally, yep, at home.
Okay.
Because there was no such thing as running to the hospital. There were very few people had babies in the hospitals at that time.
Okay.
It was all at home.
And what did your parents do for a living?
Oh, my dad did everything. I mean, he was iceman, coalman, lumberyard, all things like that. Just general labor.
Okay. And your mom?
Mom was housework and or a housewife, and she did work in the aluminum goods when the Depression was on,
Okay.
because Dad couldn't find a job. There were no jobs available. He used to take care of the house and us kids, and she worked.
Wow.
She got a job.
Was that
in the
common?
aluminum goods, huh?
Was that common back then? When during the Depression for the man to stay home?
Well, there was no work for him, and aluminum goods was doing work, and they had work for women, and she got a job in there.
Wow.
Yeah, as a kid, I remember Florence, my sister, used to take care of me, and then we'd go down and meet Mom at the plant. We'd walk down when she was coming out.
To greet
out of
her?
work. Yeah.
Wow. Well, and how many siblings did you have, speaking of Florence?
Oh, I got 2 brothers and a sister.
All still alive?
Yep. Yeah. Florence 86, Dave's 80, about 84, 85. I'm 82. And Carly's what? Oh, he's 7 years younger than I am. I don't know what.
75 probably?
Yeah.
Okay. What did you do before you went into the service?
When did the service? Oh, let's see. You want to start young. Peddle papers. When Hitler invaded Poland, I was on the streets running extra with the papers. They call that real well.
Mm-hmm.
Peddle papers from high school, paper route. Paper routes, I graduated to, I got a job after schools and Saturdays, making mattresses. And that was still while I was going to school. Oh, and then the war came on, and mattress factory, I went to the shipyards.
Which shipyard?
Manitowoc Building Shipbuilding Company. They were building submarines and landing craft, LSTs. And I went to work in a blueprint office there,
Doing what?
running out blueprints, delivering blueprints around the shipyards. And what could I say is our household consisted of My brother worked in the shipyard as a ship fitter. He was working 7 to 3. I was working 3 to 11. And my dad was working 11 to 7. So Ma was packing lunches all around the clock. And there was always somebody sleeping around the clock in our house. It was just a general rotation there.
Bring in money.
Right.
And
that's
how old were you?
17.
Okay.
And 17, yeah, and then, what was I going to say? Well, at the shipyards there, that's when I was eating my lunch, and she was playing the softball for the team, for the shipyard team, and I saw her walk by and struck up a little conversation, and when I found out where she was working in the plate shop, she was working with my brother, so I asked for a transfer. And I got a transfer to the plate shop. She worked on one end of the shop, I worked on the other. And that's where the whole system began.
What a master plan you had there.
Master planning. But then that time the enlistments were pretty well closed. You went to the draft wherever they needed you. That's where you went. As soon as I became 18, I went down and volunteered for draft. Because I wanted to go to service just because all my other friends were in service as well. I never went back for my senior year of high school. I didn't go to work I didn't go to school back in September because I knew I was leaving. So birthday was in October, and I said the next group that goes out, I'll be in it. And I left December 20th of 43.
That's when you went off to basic training and
That's
stuff?
when I left for service. Just before Christmas.
Did you have other family members who were serving?
Oh yeah, I had uncles that were in the service, and my cousin, my chum. He was gone already.
Golly.
Carly wasn't. Carly was a little kid.
Oh, that's right.
Did your brother and David just worked at the shipbuilding company, right?
Right. Dave went to shipbuilding. He was he had what they call that, classified 4F, because he had the bad back and leg,
Okay.
and he couldn't qualify for service.
And what did you have that you couldn't go into the Navy?
Colorblind.
Okay.
Colorblind. I couldn't tell the colors. They were afraid I'd open up a soft water valve instead, or a live steam valve instead of a soft water valve, or something like that there. So I'd scold everybody and not being able to see the colors. I'd memorized the book, but that recruiter skipped around the book, and I had it memorized in order. So I was really fall ball there.
So that's why you went to the Army.
That's why I went to the Army then, because I couldn't get the Navy, and I didn't qualify for CBs because of too young, and their casualty record was too great.
That's right.
They wouldn't take me.
So then when you enlisted and you left in December, where did you go?
Went to camp, like I told you. I went to Fort Benning and then, or Fort Sheridan, and then all the way through my service.
Okay.
Did you feel like you wanted to do this? Is this something you want to do because, like you said, all your friends were joining the service too? Or
That's right. I mean, at that time, I don't know, it seemed that
kind of like an adventure?
not only an adventure, it was more patriotic than anything. I think we had more of a feeling for our country at the time during war than our generation today,
Oh, yeah.
because it seems like our generation don't want to serve like we all did. Because, well, even when I was a kid, we used to have, what did they call, like the National Guard or something like that. They used to come and train by us, and that where they used to bivouac up in our area on Silver Creek Park there. And as a kid, we went down there and watched them. They'd be airplanes pulling targets, and they'd be shooting artillery shells out over the lake and stuff like that. We used to watch all that. It was interesting.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it seemed like, well, we had neighbors. I knew my neighbors, and guys were all in like National Guard and some of our neighbors, I mean, sure they were Harley boys and that stuff there. We still, you know, as kids, watched them do stuff and that, and they went into service and they became pilots. And I know Joey was shot down over Burma and that. We got that kind of history with us, and I don't know, we seem to be a little bit more oriented in service connection. So that stemmed from that. I think if people were a little bit more on a patriotic side then than they are now.
When you first went to Fort Sheridan and then Fort Benning, how was that? I mean, that was your first time away from home. How did you feel about training, and did you like it, or did you want to leave, or?
Well, it's natural instinct. One gets lonesome, but I put up with it. I mean, there was no such thing there as good travel or anything in them days. You know, actually, the first time that you're really out on your own. But wasn't bad. 7 months before I ever got a pass, you know, something like that, to get out, to get home. But that was, yeah, because I think I had one furlough, and one furlough I think I had 10 days before I went overseas.
Really?
Yeah.
And
But there was no such thing as travel like there is now. Like, we'd run down to South Carolina to see what's his name.
to see Jake.
So I was home from service in the hospital, and I was only in Iowa after being in the hospital there. And people didn't come down like to see your son or anything like that there, and
It's
they
hard.
got back. So the travel wasn't there and the money wasn't there.
Yeah. Yeah. Did you have friends that you went with or that you met down there?
Yeah, there was a couple of school kids that went with the same group I did. There was Alex Kubatsky, dead now. Jackie Wozniak, dead now.
But did you meet other friends down there too? Did you form a close bond with the other soldiers, or not really?
You always made friends. You always made friends with somebody. Like these guys here, they didn't go. They were stationed. They were on the same base, but they were not in WWII. I was going to radio school. One was in the infantry, and in fact, maybe both of them were. I don't know. But they were in different units.
But you always make friends with whoever's around you then?
Oh, that's right. You always made friends.
Speaking of radio school, talk a little bit about that. What was that like? How many hours a day did you have to do it? What did you learn?
Well, Morse code. You'd sit there for hours with them things on. Just learning Morse code.
The other day you told me how do you spell it, Fort Benning?
Oh, da 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 da.
Yeah.
But thinking in South Carolina, that's when I got that.
Meningitis?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
I had
that.
spinal meningitis, and they quarantined you.
I didn't know that.
That guy in the room next to me there, they called his folks home. They thought he was gonna die, and all they did was give you that. I don't know what they'd give you a handful of pills and give you a pitcher of water, and the next hour they came in, they wanted it all gone, and they just flushed your system through. And 9 days later, I sent me back to my outfit. First day I got back, I run 2 8/10 miles with a pack on. There was no convalescent.
But you were going to school at that time too.
Well, then that was get back to radio trading and that stuff too. But that you still had your other stuff. I
Really?
mean, your basic training besides that. I mean, that went with it.
How many hours a day did you go to school, or was it not every day?
Oh, every day, but you'd get maybe about 3-4 hours a day.
Okay.
Yeah. And from there, then I went to Fort Benning. There I went to radio school there. That was first echelon maintenance, and that is repairing the sets and everything like that, and taking more code so you could take more words per minute to be faster.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know how many months. We used to go to school in shifts over there. We used to be in school maybe about 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning
Oh
until
my
about
gosh.
1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then the following week or so, you'd go from 1 until maybe about 8, 9 o'clock at night.
Wow.
They'd rotate us into school. And rip your radio apart. Your Army radios had different, for Morse code and voice, different types of radios that we used in the field that you'd have to know what the heck was going on.
Did you have time to have fun?
Oh yeah, I carried my roller skates along with me. And I used to, if there was a roller rink and stuff like that around, I'd go roller skating and stuff like that.
Really?
And you go to the, what do they call them? Not CYO. Oh,
IMCA?
no. What do they have for the
Yeah.
servicemen?
Yeah.
No, we actually went to drink 3-2.
Oh,
That was 3-2 beer, but where the guys all went to the canteen, some canteens,
Okay.
go there and dance.
Really?
Yeah.
Were there girls there?
Oh sure, they had the girls from town used to come there to
Wave
dance.
Hmm.
Yeah. The girls from town would come up there. What they call that? All these trips that these people make now to entertain the troops.
Oh.
oh,
USO?
USO. That we'd go to there. Yeah, we'd go to them and they'd have dances and stuff like that or entertainment. They had pool tables and stuff to do.
Did you go home at all then between the time you enlisted and left Manitowoc and the time you went to?
Out of basic, you had I don't know if it was a 7-day leave or something like that. And I had, and yeah, that was right. Out of basic, you had a 7-day leave. After finishing Fort Benning, then we had a 10-day leave.
And you went home?
Then we got a furlough. The train left at 3 in the afternoon. They give you your papers at 3 in the afternoon, when the train was gone. And the train came the next day. But I didn't. The West guys were smarter than that. They wouldn't give us our papers, so we hired a cab. And as soon as they gave us our papers, we ran to the cab, and we had that cab. He said, "That train is leaving Columbus, Georgia, at 3 o'clock. We got our papers. By the time that train gets to that next town up there, you get us there so we could climb that train. Otherwise, we would have waited another
A whole
24
other
hours and lost the day's
Really?
furlough." So, we had about 6 guys, and we chipped in and hired that cab driver to get us up to that train. We got another day out of that.
Yeah. So then you did go home to Manitowoc?
Yeah, then we came into Manitowoc, and we came home. I mean, wherever the guys were going.
Yeah. And then from
But
there?
them were milk trains. It'd take us forever and a day.
Oh.
And you learned, we learned one day, when you go through the mountains, close your windows. Because that was all steam driven at that time.
Oh.
And they'd smoke like hell, and get into the tunnel. And if you had your window open, you'd die and you'd look like a blackie when you got out of there because you were all soot.
Oh.
I don't even think that, yeah.
Only happened once.
So did you see Grandma then when you went home?
Yeah. Yeah. The 40 miles between here and Manitowoc, and I used to hitchhike that 3 times in one weekend.
Really?
Because she was up here and I was down there.
Yeah.
My folks didn't like that.
I bet not. And then from there, then like after that 10-day furlough, then did you go overseas? Or did you have to go back to more training?
Well, no, then I went, I transferred into Kentucky, Camp Campbell.
Okay.
There I went with the unit, I mean, to the 20th Armored Division. They were forming the 20th Armored there.
Okay.
And as the Army works, I become ammunition handler on a 57. 57s were anti-tank. And we were pulled with a half-track. We rode a half-track. Our half-tracks used to have two sides. You had 90 gallons of 100 octane on one side of you and another 90 gallons of 100 octane on the other side. You sat in the middle
Oh,
with a 1/4 inch armor.
oh
The
man.
30 caliber goes through that.
I think we're gonna run out of tape here in a second.
But that,
Oh, should we switch tapes?
Sure.
Okay, we'll take a break, Grandpa, and just switch tapes here quick.
with the negative,
Okay.
I talk too much.
No, you were great. Not that you're not great too.
Yeah, but his,
And from a radio operator, I became a ammunition handler. That's the way.
No, that's right. You said that.
That's right. That's the way the Army utilizes its men. They train you for one thing, you end up another.
You're right.
And then our radio, we had a radio operator for our company. He took 6 words a minute. Here we guys handling shells, we're all qualified 18, 20, 24 words a minute, 28 words a minute. You know, if you went into signal corps, well then you had to have, you know, typing and everything. And they do it faster, yeah.
Oh,
But our radio operator went to school over there and he had 6 words a minute.
that's it.
Yeah. And we were 18, 20 words a minute throwing shells in a gun.
So okay, so from Fort Campbell, then where? What did you do?
At a furlough.
Okay, again.
And shipped out.
Okay.
Only had 2 furloughs in my time.
Okay.
That was prior to going overseas.
Okay.
That was one after schooling and on one before you went over. No, we shipped out of what? Where was I? Camp Campbell?
Mhm.
Oh, shipped out of Boston Harbor. I don't know when that was. It was winter time.
In 44, right? You said.
Yeah, it would have been 44.
Okay. And then you said it took 2
Landed in
weeks.
Le Havre.
Yeah.
Went up from Le Havre in France. And we went up from, there was no combat there, that was taken already.
All of France was.
All of France was taken. We went up into Holland and Belgium, but there was no fighting there. But then we cut across down and cut across going to the southern part of Germany. Well, of course we didn't know that, but that's the way we actually happened. What the reasoning is behind it, we don't know. But we ended up taking I think the target was the airport at Tucson, Tucson Airport.
Munich.
Munich, yeah. Oh, they shelled that baby all night.
Now, how did you travel? Like when you say you were traveling through all these countries, I mean, were you in tanks? Were you in?
Half track.
Okay.
We were on half tracks, pulling our 57s.
What are 57s?
Well,
Guns?
It's a mobile gun, yeah. It's an anti-tank gun.
Okay.
Shooting armor. Well,
Okay.
you could shoot other shells, but that was the big gun until they came out with the 90s with the howitzer, then 90 millimeters. Then they finally mounted them on tanks too. But our tanks only had the 57s on them at the time. So we more or less become obsolete because the Mark 6 German tank had 6 inches of armor on it. And we couldn't penetrate the nose. If you had a front shot, you couldn't penetrate the nose on it. You had to get a side shot on them. So we became more or less obsolete. And it turned us in just before they shelled Munich all night and that. And the next day we were going in, a little small town. We went through and everybody surrendered, white flags. But it was a small town.
This was in Germany though?
Huh?
This was in Germany?
Yeah, this was, I don't know for sure, I looked it up and and I don't remember anymore, it's Homenheimen, but it must be a little bird, it was just a little bird outside of
Munich.
Town there. And they had an ambush set up in the front. up front. There was roads went straight through a forest. And that's after they all surrendered from the front. And when we got through the road and got into the forest there was a curve in the road. And they had a battery of 88s sitting up there. And they popped off our tanks as we were coming. They couldn't use their 57s anymore, utilized like that. So they says, for us guys to act as infantry. We crawled up on the tanks and went in and used us as infantry. And when we got into the right range, they opened up. They were in the trees, sitting in the woods all over, stationed. Battery of 88s were sitting on the end of the road, picked us off like flies.
You guys are just running at them?
Huh?
You guys are just basically running at them?
No, I was on top of the tank. We rode in on tanks. We rode it in. They were popping us off of the tanks.
Was that like, isn't that like against war practices if they already surrendered?
There's no such thing as love in war. Anything goes.
So you weren't surprised by that? Like, oh, they surrendered, but I guess not.
Yeah, they surrendered, but the first dead American I saw was right outside of town there. The recon went in, and like they did, they dug foxholes alongside the road, and they popped the recon off.
What's recon mean?
With bazookas. Reconnaissance.
What does that mean, though?
The guys that go ahead and kind of spot things ahead.
You saw one of those dead?
Huh?
You saw one of those guys dead?
Yeah, well, they had knocked the recon cars out.
Who's they? The German soldiers?
Germans with the bazookas. Bazooka's a handheld outfit they put over your shoulder, and you shoot the grenade out there, or a shell out of it.
So how far back were you from the reconnaissance team?
Oh, maybe just a short ways back. And then when you got into town, they all surrendered. And when we kept on going forward, then they opened up.
Did you see them? Could you see them?
Who?
The people shooting?
You didn't see nothing. You would see everything, like our tanks were getting knocked off as they came up the road. But the next tank, one to get stalled, next to him came up, shoved him offside the road and kept on going. They knocked 13 of our 15 tanks out.
Does that mean they destroyed the tank or the people that are driving them?
Both. Both, with a battery of 88s. Battery of 88 could could shoot three kinds. They had a good gun. 3 kinds of shells. They had it for that gun could shoot any aircraft, any personnel, less armor piercing. And they did a good job on their parts, but they were all over the place.
Were you on Sherman tanks?
Yeah.
Sherman tanks?
Yeah, we rode them. We rode on top of them, yeah, because I mean, infantry is mobilized compared to it is in the foot soldier.
How many people were in each tank?
I think a tank held three, maybe 4. Because you had the driver, you had the guy in the turret, and another guy operating machine gun. I don't know how many really there were. My uncle was a tank driver.
Really?
Danny was a tank driver, and Ernie was a field artillery. Archie was infantry. He was a medic.
Did you ever see him over there?
No, but the 2 brothers, my 2 uncles met
They did?
overseas in Germany. Yeah, they had the opportunity to. My one uncle heard that his unit was over there, and he asked permission, and he got permission to get over and see his brother there.
That's nice.
They did meet in Germany.
Now, when you were on that tank and you met the 88s, what happened?
What happened? Oh, well, I got hit.
How did that happen?
Well, they had machine guns, they had everything else going. I don't know what kind of bullet it was, but one got me
Where?
through the arm, and it hit Private Ryan next to me. It hit him in the leg. So we both went down with one shell.
You ever explain how it went in and out?
Oh yeah. Well, when I had my gun in my lap there sitting, and I couldn't raise my gun. My arm wouldn't come up. So when I looked, all it raised was just a little stub from my shoulder, and my arm was behind me. So then I had to reach around and get my arm and bring it up front. And I knew it was time to get the hell out of there. So as the tank was going, I slid off the back end and headed for a ditch for cover. And that's why I figured, well, it was broke, but that's where all the mangling comes. So all I did was get out my powder and put on a tourniquet because I was bleeding. I took my belt off, put my tourniquet on the stub, and tried to dress my wound. And I got hit maybe about between 10 and 11 o'clock in the morning. And as I laid in the ditch there, well, the infantry start coming up then. The guys were coming up, and the guy come through the ditch there. And I had 2 bandoliers, and I had a string of bayonets on my belt. So I gave him all my ammunition, except I kept one grenade for myself in case I was laying in a ditch by the woods. Mm-hmm. In case somebody come out of the woods, I could pull the pin with my teeth and get him before he got me.
Yeah.
And I gave him the stuff, and he was marching forward on foot. But
Was there anybody else around you at this time when you were in that?
oh yeah, I'd say maybe about 60 to 100 feet away from me was another guy that was laying wounded in the ditch. And the medic was dressing him. And then I was watching after because he laid there for a while. And then he was dressing him, and somebody popped the medic off.
Really?
So the medic fell on top of the guy who was dressing.
And then if you live,
Well, that's what are you gonna do? You ain't gonna run out there when all that stuff is flying around.
Did the medic die?
No, I don't know. Never found out. No, you never know.
So how long were you laying there until, and what happened next?
Oh, till late afternoon sometime. Then they start picking up the guys. They had a half-tracks coming down. There were no ambulances. There was half-tracks. The guys were picking up the wounded guys. And I got picked up. Oh, latter part of the afternoon.
So you basically did it for a couple hours by yourself.
Oh yeah.
Well, with those other guys, a couple.
Yeah. They picked up helped in a half-track and laid you in there. There was a bunch of guys that they could pick up as many as they could take before they. Just on the other side, that little berg, they had a spot in the field, and they put red flags around it, and that's where they laid all the guys out, laying in the field there. And then there was medics there trying to dress their wounds, you know. And the clergy was running around giving them the last confessions and everything.
So when you were,
And the dirty pups were still trying to fire at us when we were laying there.
really?
Inside the Red Cross circles.
And I thought
trying to
they
pick us
weren't
up.
allowed with the Red Cross to touch them.
That Red Cross don't mean nothing.
You don't?
so when you were laying in that ditch, were you scared? Like, did you think that like that
You
more
just
guys
kept looking for anybody there because you had one grenade left.
So you're laying flat on your back, or what do you?
No, in the ditch you don't lay flat. You just kind of had to peek up in order to see if anything's coming out of the woods.
Well, how would you?
Because the wood is the road is right there, and the guys were going there, but it was at a stalemate because it was all shot up. I mean, the tanks were all disabled in there. That tank commander should have. Well, I did find out that he didn't survive too well.
No.
Everything is fair in love and war. And there's nobody, and you start losing, which I found out. We lost 13 of our 15 tanks there. And if you remember the picture of Patton standing by that Jeep,
Yeah.
I can still see him standing there like that. One would get knocked out, wave up another one, wave up another one. And they just getting knocked out like hell.
Yeah.
You saw
No.
Patton, or you just talking about the picture?
No, this colonel that was
Oh.
the head of that tank battalion was doing that.
Did
He
you
was
look-
parked off in a Jeep on the side
Oh.
in a ditch there, and he kept moving these guys up the road. Well, naturally, he'd move them up. That guy'd shove this guy out of the way, and he'd keep going, he'd get popped. Order another one up. He should have called for artillery or something.
So,
But I did find out, I don't know how well, the rumor is, while we were laying there, well, Colonel so-and-so ain't ordering no more up there. Because they did order in, we got some more, another tank company come up while we were laying out in the field there. And they had the big dynies on it. And you looked at that village, there wasn't much left. Because there was, the houses would stand and maybe they had two ends on it, and you could have drove a couple tanks right through them. Everything was leveled. But them dirty pups were like, say if the attic stood, they were still firing out of there. Grandmas, grandpas, there were no soldiers. These were civilians.
these were civilians that did all this?
Civilians were doing all that. Oh yeah, they were marching them out of there like, what do you call it? Prisoner of war. Grandma got a kick in the ass as well as the next one if they didn't move fast enough. Because they had the guns. They were shooting.
But the people who shot you, those were soldiers.
Never saw them.
So you
I
don't know.
thought you said they were hiding in the trees.
They were hiding in the trees. They were up there. There was more civilian than anything. Remember, this is only 8 days before the war was over. They didn't have anything no
That's
more.
right. What day was this?
They were radical because there's Hitler's hometown.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
And it was the whole population. You wouldn't fight a soldier. I mean, there was no, what they call the home Wehrmacht. It was organized.
What day was this?
April 29th.
1945.
Yeah.
So, when you were, what ended up happening? Obviously, your company
the
moved
ride,
forward.
First of all, the ride back in the half track was really, really comical. Because I got a shower at the same time.
Why?
Because the half track is designed that you had a canvas top. But we had the canvas off.
And it rained.
And no, we always hung our canteens up there. So I'm laying in a half track, they're hauling you back to the field where you get dressed. Some pub shot the damn canteens.
Canteens.
And the canteens were dripping down on me.
And you must have been in so much pain.
You don't think about nothing like that. At
You don't?
that time, you can't think about nothing like that. You don't think of anything.
What do you think about?
I don't know, self-survival, I imagine. You aren't scared. You aren't scared at the time. You're trained for self-survival. What you got to do. You're trained for a job. And that's what you do.
Did you, when you were laying in that ditch, did you just assume someone was going to come for you? You kind of knew that would be the next step. Someone was going to come
Well,
get
you
you.
prepare for it. That's why I kept the grenade.
No, but I mean like someone from the U.S. Army. You thought someone's going to come pick me up and bring me back to the Red Cross.
Eventually, but you don't know when.
Oh.
There was no such thing as, hey, you got hit, they're going to run there and get you up to the hospital right
Right.
away. No, you go with flow as things develop.
And your company then, before we talk about what happened to you specifically, where did your company go? Moved on, ended up where?
Oh, they kept on going. They naturally kept on going.
Even though
So they
13?
broke through this.
They did eventually get that battery of 88s and kept on
They
going.
did.
They did.
Because, well, first of all, the rumor came back to the outfit already that tank commander got a 50 caliber through his head.
The head guy?
Yeah, the colonel. Germans didn't have 50 calibers. I think somebody else polished them off.
One of his own
Easy.
guy.
You figured if there's 15 tanks, you got 13 of them shot down. That last guy knows, well, here it comes. The hell, you can wave all you want, you're gonna get her. He probably didn't go.
Yeah.
You never know. Self-preservation, I mean, that's what I think happened. Well, it did come back that he ain't waving no more up there, you know how guys are. The hell is he waving them up there to get slaughtered?
So then, okay, so then you got your ride back to the Red Cross area?
Yeah, and there they just put the tourniquet on and put a bandage on them. They don't do nothing there. Then they get you ready to get on a stretcher and they haul you back, but they can't haul you back like that. They had ambulances shuffling back to a field hospital. There we drove. Oh, that's a painful ride. All night, never hit a road.
Oh, man.
Through the fields, no lights. All you got is them little lights on the truck, you know, just them
Was the
little
moon out
things.
or anything?
Huh?
Was the moon out?
No, I didn't see the moon. Oh, and that guy next to me, he must have had one through the guts because he was moaning like a bitch.
Oh.
And it was there where we got to a field hospital. There they had tents set up.
And where was there? Where were you?
I don't know, someplace I drove all night.
Somewhere in Germany, you think, though?
Yeah, someplace in Germany. And in the morning we got there. It was getting daylight. Drove all night in the dark. And there's where that field hospital was set up.
You
And
said
there they dressed your wound and everything.
you stunk real bad.
No, not then.
When did you
You
stink?
gotta have rotten blood for that. Well, that was later. Then they just dressed us there, and then they made arrangements. I don't know. We laid there until they had C-47s, hospital planes, come in and landed. They took us, and I think it was Reims, France, and they put us in something like a schoolhouse or something like that. And there we stayed till we were supposed to go to a hospital. They had to fly us to England. And well, I'll tell you how long it was. From the time I was hit on April 29th, May 8th it was over. I was in Reims, France, and all I had was, they put that thing in a cast. They didn't set it or nothing. They put it in a cast and dressed it. And we were waiting to get flown to England. And the guy next to me, we were in a room. I think it was an old converted, I don't know, a school or no, these rooms were too big. You know, it must have been like a convent or something.
Mm-hmm.
And he got 7 shots in the shoulder.
7?
Seven shots in the shoulder. And we were impressed. Remember the 29th, we got there maybe 2 days later. And May 8th, no, we were still there because they couldn't fly us to England because they were boxed in with fog over the channel. So we laid there all them days. The war was over when it was May 8th, and the war ended in Germany. Everybody was going wild outside. We were laying there, inside. They were shooting guns, they were doing everything. War was over.
How did you hear about it? All of a sudden you heard all that commotion, or did somebody come in and say, hey,
Yeah.
guess what?
Yeah, the war was over. We heard all the commotion.
Oh.
And everybody was firing. Everybody was shooting guns off. What the hell's going on out there? Then we found out it was
Because the war was over.
because the war was over. But stink, oh, that guy stunk. You're rotten blood. You know, all this while you're just sitting in that rotten blood. Finally, we got out of there. And they flew us in a C-47 over to England.
Was that your first plane ride?
No. My first plane ride was when I was about 16 or 17. Open cockpit job.
Where was that?
Manitowoc.
Oh,
Not
really?
In the army, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
that was
okay.
before.
But this was your first plane ride over there in Europe.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
In Europe, yeah.
So then you went to England.
Then they put us on a hospital train. And they took us to some hospital, Quonset huts. And there I was put in traction.
For how long?
Well, I was supposed to be there for 6 weeks, but the war was over, so they closed the hospital. So they took me out of traction, put me on a boat, and sent me back.
And that's what we have the picture of, so I'll get that out, but
Yeah, that's when I had the cast on. That's when I had the cast from my waist up to my neck.
I'll get that. Oh, yeah.
They said it's in a sling. It's not in a sling. It said that cast was in my, from my waist up to my neck.
Right.
And this is a picture that was in the Manitowoc Herald Times, probably sent via the Associated Press wire, of a guys playing cards on the ship on the way back. What ship was that, Grandpa?
USS Richardson.
And how long of a ride was that back?
Oh, they made it good. Only 7 days. Not even.
7 days.
Yeah. Yeah, but don't forget, when you go across in a convoy, them ships, you had Liberty ships only made 12 knots. That's slow. And they never took a direct course like this. This time they take a direct course. Every so many minutes that ship changes direction when you're going overseas in a convoy.
Oh.
That's to avoid submarine, you know, so you can't get a shot at you.
So when you came back, how was that ride back?
It was pretty good because we were in the center of the ship. That's a hospital part of the ship.
And were you in a lot of pain at that point, or was your arm getting better, or?
Oh, yeah, well, you didn't have that. No, the hard part of that was that cast on so long. It gets pretty itchy. Just don't forget that cast was from your belt up to your neck, and with that thing in there.
How
And
come you had it down so low?
That whole thing was cast like that,
To your
so
waist?
that it doesn't move.
Your waist too?
Huh?
Down
Oh yeah, from here to here was cast, and then this was built out in front of you. And they had a rod out here to hold that thing out.
Did you know? I should have asked this before, but like, did you feel the gunshot, or did you not even know it happened until you tried to move your arm?
When I tried to move my arm,
That's when you knew.
yeah, because all that moved was that little stub.
Yeah. And then you're like, oh
And
no.
where the hell is it? And it was the leech run was behind me, and I knew it was time to get out of there.
Yeah.
The best part of it, I said, like, they got this movie Private Ryan now, and he was private. He was, well, PFC Ryan.
Yeah.
But he was a school teacher. He was a good guy. God, there's a lot of, you know, the worst one was our platoon sergeant. He was a career man. And he turned out to be the biggest yellow belly there was. Because we're on a tank, and when they start firing, he starts pounding on the turret and said, let me in, let me in. He's supposed to be the leader.
Did you let him in there?
The tank crew was inside. They wouldn't let nobody in. I don't remember what the hell happened to him. I got the hell off of that tank and went. I'm taking care of my hide.
Did you know a lot of guys who died over there? Did you have friends that died, or did pretty much everybody
Never
make it?
knew. Never
You don't
found
know.
out
Isn't
nothing.
that something?
Never got none of my stuff back.
You tried for it, and they said it all got burnt.
Oh, that's my records.
Or your records for spinal meningitis.
Yeah. I mean, when I had all that back trouble and I tried to get stuff, I mean, for figuring maybe it was, they always said spinal meningitis leave you with something. Well, probably a weak mind. Because they said there's no record of me being in a hospital for spinal meningitis or anything like
Wow.
that. So there's no records. And everybody else gets the same story. Their records are burnt up.
Huh.
Maybe it's true, maybe it ain't. I think cover up. Could be.
Yeah. Now, when you got back, what harbor did you come into?
Pardon?
When you got back, what harbor were you in?
Boston came and went out of Boston, came into Boston.
And when was that? What day did you get back in the U.S.? Do you remember? Or what month?
Must have been June.
Okay.
June, because I remember we took it through, they put us on a hospital train. And I went to Clinton, Iowa. And that's where I was treated over there.
What?
And they set your arm. You know?
Yeah,
Because what kind of fracture did you have?
compound complex.
Okay.
And that's where and then from there, I was sent to Battle Creek, Michigan. That's where they take care of all the bone injuries and stuff. And that's where I did my rehab. They had a section there at Fort Custer. where we had rehab, and that's where I got discharged out of.
And how, well, what day did you get discharged, do you remember? Or what month?
December, what did I say? I left on December 20th.
December 5th. Remember? It was the other night. It was the anniversary. December 5th, 1945.
What was that anniversary of December? That I came home or that I left?
That you discharged.
That you left, you said before.
Oh,
Yeah, December 5th.
yeah, that's when I
1945.
got discharged.
Okay. And when did you get the Purple Heart? Here, we'll show that too. When did you get the Purple Heart medal?
They threw it on your bed, didn't it?
Yeah. Got that in England.
Oh, really?
As I was laying in traction. There was some sergeant or something went through, and he must have had an armful of Purple Hearts, and he just threw my bed. Here's your Purple Heart, here's your Purple Heart.
Then how?
He dished them out like cards.
So you were in rehab and treatment up until December 5th.
Yeah, until I was discharged.
Yep. And then what? Where'd you go from there?
Home. I'm discharged home.
Home to Mantle. How did you get home?
Great.
How was that being in Iowa and Michigan, real close to home, but you couldn't go home after being gone for?
I did get weekend passes.
Oh, you did.
Yeah, I used to ride the train. I remember it was cold as hell. Because the trains used to be so loaded at that time. I remember riding from Manitowoc to Chicago and never got inside the train. Stood on the platform. And the snow was all blowing in there. Guys were huddled down on a outside platform of the trains with the snow swirling and covering them up. That was transportation at that time because it was pretty what you call
Rudimentary.
it was so crowded. You know, everybody was doing one. Everything was rationed and everything. You know.
Yeah.
When you got back, when you were discharged, you came home, and did you start working again right away?
Well, it was no use going back to the shipyard because my uncle stayed with us when he come home because well, he was single and everything, but in the meantime, his dad and everything had died. His home was gone, you might say, by the time he got back. There was no place to go, so he stayed with my dad, which was his brother, and him and I got out close together. And it was time to go to work and went to the shipyards, and shipyards that naturally didn't have nothing, just like Grandma says, with no more submarines, so they would work you, they had to give you your job back.
Oh.
So they would work you one day, they'd ruin your unemployment, so then they lay you off. And the same job would get filled by another serviceman. And they'd ruin his unemployment. So you actually, in a week's time, he only had 1 day's wages. So I said, no use going back to that, and I went back to my mattress factory. And I worked there.
And was your arm okay at that point? Could you work?
No, it wasn't, well, you could work, but I mean, it took its toll. I mean, you know, for what you could do. It did limit me to a certain degree all the way
They
around.
wouldn't hire him at the mill because
Later on,
he was wounded.
when mattress factory, I got laid off. That was when Denny was born that Christmas time. Then I went to work in that grocery store where I traded. He knew he was good and he gave me a job. And then Grandma wanted to come back to Little Chute, and I came back here. There was more opportunity here. And I found out later, I got a job, but I found out later by working, I'm putting in lawns and stuff. And I was putting in a lawn by one of the guys that was a superintendent when she was down at the mill yet. And I told him about it, and he knew her and everything. And somebody in the mill worked in personnel that I knew when we used to go out, you know, in the taverns and stuff. And I says, inquire why I don't get hired, and they were hiring other people. And he said, found out they wouldn't hire me because I was hurt in service. And that was KC.
Yeah. Which you ended up working at for how many years?
And I worked at Fox River until how long? And then when I told this guy about it, he says, he went to the house and I told him I wish they would have bombed his place right off the Fox River. And he went in the house and he come back, he said, you can go to work at 7 in the morning. After 2 weeks notice,
He
I
was-
says,
yeah,
then I'm
he was
in, I
a
says,
big
because
deal.
my
He was
employer was
Kringle.
good. I said, I'll give him 2 weeks notice and I'll go and work for your company. Mine, I had family. And I went from $1.14 to $1.36 an hour, plus a shift differential. So that was more money.
Yeah.
So I had to put my pride in my pocket and go where I could make some money for
Yeah.
my family.
And how long did you work at that mill?
35 years.
Yeah.
And they skunked us in the end anyway.
And how was your arm the rest of your life?
Pardon?
How was your arm the rest of your life? Did it get better? Did you notice a difference now?
Oh, it always did, always did. I used to sleep with a pillow under my arm. And, you know, you couldn't lay it down without the aggravation and sleep with a pillow under my arm all the time. And it did limit yourself. I mean, because the arm is shorter, it's crooked. You couldn't throw a football or a baseball because it never would straighten out. You can't let go. You gotta always stop before and release before, or the cords are all shot short. It's a detriment in your.
Well,
But yet you were able to do a lot with it. I mean,
Oh yeah,
you hold your beer in it.
you darn right. I got a beer.
and you're very handy and you build a lot of things and
You
a lot of
can't straighten out that arm though.
that's
Sure.
right.
No, but I mean,
And you can't lift it over your head, right?
no, you couldn't chin yourself because you always chin yourself. One weight is on one arm, the other arm is. You couldn't let both arms down at the same time and really hang.
Right.
Otherwise, you're hanging on one. So,
But you can't lift it over your head, right?
oh yeah, I remember the day that I could, when I touched my nose for the first time. After that, I thought I really accomplished something.
Really?
Because I couldn't do that. Then when I combed my hair, that was really
That was
an
a big deal?
accomplishment. But now I can't reach back and see, you want to wash your back or anything like that. You can't get back
can't
there
do
like
that.
that. You can't twist around like that.
Okay.
No, it limited it.
But you still were able to do a lot.
Something you carry with you.
Right. Did you stay involved with any veterans associations or anything over the years?
Oh yeah, good member. What did I got down? 54 years American Legion. A life member of Disabled Vets.
Okay. And you never stayed in touch with anybody that you met?
No, they had that reunion, and I figured that was too much money. I couldn't afford to go down there for just to say hi to somebody I might not have known at the time,
Or maybe not.
or maybe not. Over these so many years, you wouldn't know unless you had ID, or knowing that they came out of the place, which you take pictures along. But everything they had to offer in that area, I've been through there already, went through everything. So it was just a matter of going to a meeting and finding out, did you know him or did you know him or who was left?
Yeah.
And it's been so many years that chances were nil, so it wasn't even worth the money to do it. If you did meet one guy, it'd be a $1,000 investment in order to see if you could meet one fella.
Right.
At this
So you
stage,
never found out what happened to that Ryan guy?
No, and I didn't find out of anybody. I never met anybody from our outfit or heard from anybody.
Yeah, how about that guy that the bullet went
Yeah,
out of your arm and
that's
his
Ryan.
That's the Ryan.
Oh,
Before you got shot, like while you were over in Europe, what was that life like? Like, how did you travel and where did you sleep and what did you eat?
Oh, we had regular mess hall. I do remember, like when we were up in Holland there, boy, we knew we were going to bivouac, and this farmer was plowing his field. He said, "Oh boy, we got a soft bed tonight," and that was good. And so the instance is, well, you slept wherever you were. You You looked like, I remember Easter Sunday. Oh yeah, we had chicken. And by the time we went to the mess hall, you got your thing in your metal plate, and you got back to the half track in the tank that we were bivouacked with. The snow was on my chicken already. And I remember sleeping under the tank. We always went under the tank in order to try and get a little heat from the motor. Stuff like that. I do remember we went into that forest in Germany there. Guys hunted deer with a machine gun. And then we had deer, and that was good sleeping because they had fir trees in it. We sliced branches off of the trees and laid them down, and then laid in our sleeping bag on top of that. It was a nice mattress with the branches. Them were the type of sleeping things. I do remember open fields, everything like that there. I mean, we slept.
Wasn't it cold? I mean, it was winter, spring.
I do recall one time we were laying out there, and she said, started to rain during the night. You only had the sleeping bag, and then they had that nylon cover, and I rolled over, and my headgear on that sleeping bag must have caught the rain, and that cold water ran right down my back. Oh, was that cold? There, no place to go and work.
And there just have fun, did you? I mean, there went. How?
Oh, you'd go to these.
You what?
We'd go to these. Like around Cali. Us guys made our own fun as far as it wasn't fun. You would go to these places and have a drink, wine, cider, stuff like that. If you went on, if you captured a town, you'd always go to the mayor's house, because his wine center was always good. You'd always go for the mayor's house. He always had good stuff. One time we went to the brewery. We got a case or a barrel of, but it must have been, they had to call the medic. Everybody had the shits and was puking, and they had to get the medic. I remember I was one of the best ones that they had, because I had crapped, and I went down, there was a creek there. I took my underwear off and everything, went in the creek, threw it away, dressed up, and I went back. Kaminski, he says, you're one of the best in the shaper here. Get on that machine gun, get on that half track, and you watch up the road. If anything's coming, let us know, or open up.
What did you do for clothes? Did you just wear the same clothes all the time?
I had one shower. You talk about shower. I had one shower all the while I was overseas.
6 months.
Yeah.
You're kidding.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Once we hit one place there, they set up showers for us. And they had hot water that we could, just like going to mess hall.
Yeah.
One shower, you only have that many minutes and then out.
My
One
God.
shower. We always go in the stream. It was cold. Wash up. I remember washing my field jacket in a jug of gasoline one time, because you were dirty from the grease and everything and the stuff of that, handling all that stuff, and it was so dirty that I took and I was thinking of them with their stamps. Here I'm washing my jacket in gas, 100 octane,
Oh my
to get
God.
it clean.
Oh.
Good thing nobody had a match.
You washed a lot of stuff in your stream, stuff like that there. Oh, that was cold shaving in there too. Use your helmet. That's what you washed out of.
Did you have like a razor with you and that kind of stuff?
Oh yeah, you carried a little thing.
How many pounds
But
of gear did you have to carry
You didn't
around?
have time to use it anyway.
How many pounds of gear did you carry around on a normal basis?
How many pounds?
Yeah.
It all depends.
Did you have like shovel and all that other shit you had to?
Oh, you had that in your gear, yeah, but you didn't have to carry it all the time. You had it in the half track.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's right.
That's
Yeah.
true too.
You carried your gear in the half track.
What's a half track?
It's got two great big wheels in the front. It's got a 50 or 30 caliber machine gun mounted on the top with the driver and then the machine gunner. And behind is your, on each side is all your shells. Comes in like a side, like you see these trucks. Then you got both sides, it's filled with gas tanks, and you rode in the center there. And that's what, on the sides of the thing you hung
Gear?
Gear, you know.
Mm, yeah.
How did you, like, were you smoking then?
That's another thing. Yeah, you always got cigarettes.
How?
Oh,
They
they'd give them a
didn't.
nickel a pack.
How did you have money?
We had money to bargain with. We had money. They paid us.
You
They
just
paid
kept
us
the money on
in France. We got the French money. They used to have like a military money. French money. In fact, and we used to buy that guy used to come through and the baker, and we, you know, they had good dark bread, and we bought them out. Those guys would always look for that because you get sick of chow line, you know. I mean that crap. So we'd buy his bread, and then they made us stop buying his bread because the people weren't getting nothing. We had the money, and we'd buy all their bread.
Yeah.
So they didn't get anything. So that was the way that worked as far as money's concerned. And when you got into doing anything else, like our clothes washed, when we were in France, we got to know a lady, a farmer right next door, from where our we took over. What do you call it? Big houses.
Like a hostel or something?
No. This is where rich ones.
Well, like
live.
mansions?
Mansion?
Yeah, they're in mansions, but they got a different name for them.
Like a, oh,
Castle or something?
Yeah, something like that. We took over one of them, but there was one of the farmers there. His wife would take in washing for bars of soap. We'd barter. If you wanted cider, you give him bar soap, you know. And if you were a friend of his, then you got the first squeezings, and the other guys would get the second. So you had to be nice to them.
how did you get mail?
Well, they used to have mail call every once in a while. Every couple of days or weeks, then you get a bundle of mail,
Really?
because they'd bundle it up, because then you could go through well and put it according to dates, because to catch up.
And we were saying before how Grandma wrote to you every day. Did other people write to you too?
Oh yeah. Other girlfriends.
Yeah, I know.
Like your mom and
Ryan,
your mom and stuff.
is that
Yeah, Mom used to write.
cars come in here, no?
I even got one letter from my dad one time.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that Jimmy?
No.
Look at that sky.
They took the airport.
We're
the
still
next day.
doing our pro.
Now that we got our cookies. So I guess just to kind of find out from when you got to Europe, France, to when you got shot, what happened at that time? So you said you went around the Battle of the Bulge because you said it was still going on at that time?
They had it pretty well mapped up by that time. Archie
Okay.
was in that one. Archie was in that. That happened around Christmas Eve. And
Yeah.
because he had to go and get some guys out hauling help for medic. Then he told me about his ordeal. That they asked for volunteers because there was guys out there that were wounded on Christmas Eve, and they were hollering, and he had to go out at night in order to find them. You know, ask for volunteers. And he was a medic.
On Christmas Eve you had to do that?
Yeah, Christmas Eve he was out looking for guys that were shot up out there.
So you went around the Battle of the Bulge. When did you see your first combat then?
Right outside of Munich.
Okay. Where you got shot then?
Right.
Okay. So did you ever come upon anyone like
Oh,
snipers and
Oh, you come upon it. I'll tell you my first ordeal. I mean, where I saw we were bivouac one day, not maybe a couple weeks before that, and we were out there, and we had a security area. You got a security area before you can bunk down, you know. So there was woods alongside of the road, and that I went up there and checking the woods to see if there's anybody in there. Here lays a nice looking young fella, German soldier. He got shot, and that was one of my first encounters with the dead ones there. And he must have been. It was on a hill. Our road was down below, and I go up this hill, and he must have been trying to run away, and somebody shot him. He got it in the back of the head, went around, threw his helmet, and out. Well, he naturally fell backwards. But it was kind of gruesome for the fact that, I mean, the maggots were in
Oh,
and
yeah.
out of his nose, out of his ears, eyes, mouth, and everything. I pulled his papers. The kid was only about 16 or 17 years old. And that hurt.
I can imagine.
Why, you know, something like that. Well, then you see that and you what the hell's this all about? You know, and a nice young life like that was taken away. And I was only 19 myself.
Right.
And he was German. This
He
kid.
was German. But even though he was German, you say, oh, that's good, you shot that son of a gun. No, you felt bad because you know that his parents and everything, but you think back what they were thinking, it isn't worth it.
Right.
Because he was just probably an ordinary kid, but indoctrinated.
Right.
I heard that there was a lot of Hitler youth,
Yeah.
boys, 10, 12 years old.
Oh, sure, they were trained from young on. They were trained from young on. There was, I mean, the mothers were rewarded for having boys.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they were rewarded. I remember going through a town, and it was all knocked to hell, you know. And we were walking and checking, what do you call the air shelters and that. And this lady knew English. Please don't take my washing machine, she says. Lady, I don't want your washing machine. There ain't no electricity around this joint to run it. You know, it was all bombed up. And then we take smoke bombs. You had smoke bombs, you know, colored smoke bombs. And you get it at the entrance of a what you call it, the air raid shelter, and dug down underneath. Open the door and throw all them smoke bombs down there. And you open the door and it comes out like a rainbow as it comes out. Entertainment.
Wow.
What else you want to know? We did a lot of shitty things.
You want to talk about that watch?
Huh?
You want to talk about that watch?
Oh, that I'm ashamed of that.
That's all right, but I mean, you said that you feel bad about it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, we there one night. A company of soldiers were marching up, and we heard them coming. So everybody down, and we knew they were coming up through this field. So we separated, and when they come through, this is at night. Then all of a sudden we surprised them. They were down to nothing because they had their equipment and everything on a wagon being pulled by a horse.
Wow.
There was no mobile situation there whatsoever. And we just came upon them, and as soon as we had them, they surrendered. Well, somebody got the job of taking them back as far as that goes. But naturally we checked them, and this one young guy, I noticed he had a real nice watch on. Oh boy, I could use that watch. It's nice and round, I can put my girl's picture in there. So he didn't want to give it up. I just took my bayonet and just said, hey, rubbed his belly a little bit. Says, the watch or else. And oh yeah, he'd naturally give you a watch. But now when I think of it, that wasn't right. And if I ever had that opportunity, which all these years I've been thinking, if I could ever meet that man and apologize to him for what I did, I'd give him 2 watches now. But because it wasn't right on the part. But at the time you're 19 years old and you're it's indoctrinated into you that kill a son of a gun or he's going to kill you.
I'm sure it happened both ways.
If he would have had the chance, he would have probably knocked me off.
Yeah.
Right.
Or stolen your watch.
I took his watch, but you know, you think the right thing to do was not the right thing. That was not the right thing to do. And I would like to, if I'd ever get the chance to let him know that, you know, that you feel that you don't think it was right.
Yeah. I'm sure it wasn't the only case of that happening.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff that they used to do. And we go through town, and there used to be, get into the dentist's office. One guy said, "Hey, give me a little checkup here." You know, you sit in the dentist chair, dentist is gone. We go through town, and you find, one time, let's go through that house, see what the hell it's got in there. We walked in there, and here lays a big shell. Didn't explode.
Oh.
And it came in through the window, landed right on the bed, and never exploded. We're walking around here, here's this guy, he was in the army, he's got pictures on the wall and everything. And here lays this goddamn big shell.
Could have it went off?
Never know. If you would have detonated, you would have been gone to the moon.
Where did you get that knife with the swastika on it?
Oh, Ernie gave me that. I didn't take it off of nobody. Ernie gave me that. That was an officer's knife. Oh, you could pick them up. You could pick that stuff up like, you know, when you got into a town, they had to surrender all their weapons and everything.
Yeah.
And there used to be a pile of guns, swords, oh, nice, beautiful swords and all that stuff. What the hell are you going to do with it?
Yeah.
Take it. I got me a nice German rifle, the 31 caliber. See, we had 30, they had 31s. They could use our bullet, we could not use theirs because they would jam our gun. But his gun was cleaner than mine. So I took his gun and I shoved it in my duffel bag. I thought, boy, oh boy, maybe that's good for deer hunting. I got hit and didn't see none of that stuff no more.
Well,
All these guys sent stuff like them, the German Lugers and everything like that. Didn't get none of that stuff back. You know, who took it was the guys in headquarters that were supposed to send it out.
took it for himself.
They were sitting back like in the office and
Right.
hey, I'll take that.
Can you kind of describe like you said that where you got hit was a forest. Is it a forest like up northern Wisconsin, or is it
Woods is the same.
same? Cause it's the same
Woods are the
climate.
same up there as it is over here. Now, they had nice forests. Yeah, Germany had nice forests. Yeah.
The same kind of like you said, they shot deer, so they have
Yeah.
the same.
Yeah, but they don't have as much of it as we do. You know, they don't have the open land. Settled in. I mean, when you get in there too, like we used to get in, it was, let's put it backward for the point of like France. France was backward in a sense that slave labor. The Germans had the slave labor. You made friends with them with the slave labor because you walked in and you could hit one of them slave labor camps. They take like the Polish people and make them slave labor and farm and stuff like that. They were pulled with their cows. They had the oxen like the old days. They had them things made and they pulled their honey wagons, they called them honey wagons. The manure and stuff like that was hauled on the fields with that. And they were some young fellas there that were taken as slave labor. And they'd live, like say if they were living in a house like that, there was no family or anything. They'd have a curtain or maybe like a sheet. That was the family on one side, a sheet, then the family on the other side. Couple bunks, that's all there was. Just a place to sleep.
You came upon these things as you came through Germany?
Oh yeah, but see that what I remember from great grandma. It was my job to take care of great grandma, to walk her back and forth, you know, because she had bad eyes as a kid. And I would talk English and she would talk Polish. But we got along that I knew half Polish and she knew half English. And her and I could always converse. She knew, you know, and that all helped me over there. Because when we got to the Polacks, they'd call me, "Hey, Polak, come on over here and see what this guy's talking about." You know, I could
Make
recognize some of the stuff that he was saying, and I could, between the motion and the few words I knew, we could converse. And we'd try and get some information or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And like an interpreter. And then when we used to go to their house, oh, well, you could talk a little bit, you know, their language and everything. They treated you like a king. They'd give you a vodka and everything else. That's enough to make your hair stand on end. We walked home. I remember walking home one time, and me and the other guy said, "Boy, we'd be really be in tough shape now." Some crowd came along and got a hold of us because we're both so all knockered out of shape we couldn't even load our rifles. But they were so good to us. They filled our canteens with milk, and they needed it more than we did.
That was really nice.
We're down to 4 minutes here in the video, so
Good.
just is there any last things that you want
No,
to say about the time?
We're out of time, and I talked it up.
Well, can you answer kind of the same question like we asked Grandma at the end? Like, looking back over your life, how do you view that time in your life? Is it something that really
Very
stands out?
educational.
Okay.
Very educational, I'd say. It did make you grow up in a damn quick hurry. Anybody says war is hell. It is hell.
Yeah. But I'm sure looking back is something you're really proud of, that experience. That you,
Well, I don't know.
or you-
That you served your country.
right. And so much good came from that. I mean, in terms of liberating that part of the world.
Yeah, that part of it's all right. But anybody says if they said they weren't scared, their life was.
Right. Well, I'm sure, yeah, in 1920.
But you ain't scared then. Not when you're doing it. Afterwards.
Well, there's no time to be scared then.
Right.
Yeah.
But then after time, you think it's all over. It's a waste.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And that's why we're so glad that Jake didn't have to go into combat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, are we at the end?
All right.
1 minute left. We made
Yeah.
it with all that to spare.
Too many men went for nothing. Died for nothing. Nothing accomplished. But they're still acting like a bunch of fools.
No.
And it'll go on centuries from now yet. Because man didn't learn yet.
It's always happened and always will.
Yeah. Well, like I say, the Lord should have put more love in the world instead of hate.
No.
Learn how to love, not how to hate. And what do you call it? Greed. Too much greed. They don't share. There's enough to go around, but they don't know how to distribute it.
Right.
The end.
Did he make it?
We made it. You got 20 seconds left.